A knock echoed through the silence. A delicate, soothing knock that felt far from ominous. Merely a tender nudge that life continued beyond the serene confines of my home. I strolled to the door in my robe, my hair still moist from the lackluster shower I had taken earlier that morning. As I opened the door, I anticipated the familiar sight of the mailman or perhaps a friendly neighbor stopping by. Yet it was Logan, the son of my closest friend, 19, lofty, somewhat dampened by the warmth of the summer sun. He donned a white tank top that accentuated his chest and embraced his arms perfectly. His tousled curls framed his face, and his grin was youthful and charming. "Greetings, Miss Claire," he remarked, raising a small box. "My mom wanted me to bring this over for you." His voice resonated with a depth I hadn't recalled. For a brief instant I paused, then a smile spread across my face. "Logan, oh dear. Feels like ages since we last crossed paths." He passed me the package and I caught a whiff of a delicate blend of soap and cologne intertwined with the warmth of the sun. Indeed, I've been occupied with school and various commitments. However, my mother emphasized that this was significant. "Step inside," I urged, moving to the side. "Allow me to present you with some refreshing lemonade." He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Only if you are certain." "I firmly insist." He entered the room, and the ease with which he carried himself, so at home, so self-assured, left my throat parched. Perhaps it was the manner in which his tank disclosed just enough to conjure up the rest. Perhaps I had simply been alone for far too long. I filled 2 glasses and offered him one. For a fleeting moment, our fingers grazed against each other. He gazed at me with those rich, chocolate-brown eyes and offered a warm smile. "By the way, you look fantastic." I chuckled, perhaps a bit too hastily. "This ancient robe has its objections." "No, seriously," he said, taking a sip. "You still possess that talent." The words lingered in the air between us, ethereal and elusive. Perilous, sugary haze. The living room was our gathering place. I folded my legs, a sudden awareness washing over me regarding the looseness of my robe. Logan's gaze darted briefly to my exposed thigh before he averted his eyes with a sense of decorum. I cleared my throat. "How's everything going at school?" "Uninspiring," he remarked with a smirk. "I would prefer to engage in a hands-on activity." I took a deep breath. The atmosphere shifted. Perhaps it was just a figment of my imagination. Perhaps it was merely my own wild musings. Yet I sensed it. I took another sip of lemonade, making an effort to maintain a cheerful tone. "You're quite skilled with tools, aren't you?" "Indeed," he remarked. "Occasionally, I assist my uncle with plumbing tasks." In an instant, an idea crept into my thoughts, seemingly pure on the surface, yet tinged with a shadowy undertone beneath. "My shower has been behaving oddly," I remarked. "Minimal pressure. Cold water is something I absolutely despise. Could you possibly take a moment to review this?" He straightened his posture. "At this moment? Should you find yourself with some time to spare?" He flashed a grin. "Take the helm." I escorted him to the bathroom. My robe swayed with each step, and I made no effort to adjust it. He knelt beside the tub, turning knobs, inspecting pipes. I lingered in his shadow, observing the way the muscles in his back shifted beneath the delicate fabric of his tank top. "There's a leak down here," he remarked, extending his hand deeper. "It seems a washer might need to be replaced. Is it possible to repair it?" "Indeed. It seems a trip to the hardware store might be in order." I knelt beside him, uncomfortably close. Our shoulders brushed against each other. His breath seemed to hang in the air for a moment. He gazed at me, and this time he held my gaze. Our faces hovered in close proximity, excessively silent. His gaze lingered on my lips before drifting down the soft drape of my robe. I ought to have distanced myself. I ought to have spoken up. However, I did not. He didn't either. The quiet conveyed our unspoken thoughts. "Thank you, Logan," I murmured. "What for?" His voice was soft, almost like a whisper. "For rekindling my emotions once more." He remained silent. He simply gazed at me. In that instant, I realized everything had shifted. That night, I lay in bed, caressing my lips as if they still held the warmth of his kiss. He had not. Not at this moment. Yet I wished for him to. I ought not to have. He was the son of my closest friend. Youthful, attractive, intrigued. Yet desire knows no boundaries. And I had merely cracked open a door to an abyss I could never shut. The following morning, Logan occupied my thoughts incessantly. Those eyes of his, those hands of his, the way he gazed at me made me feel like I was more than merely a mother, more than just an aging widow in a silk robe. I stood before the mirror, running a brush through my hair, my robe cinched a bit more snugly today. Yet, I observed the way my skin radiated as if it held onto the memory of his warmth despite the fact that he had not laid a finger on me. A knock at the door echoed once more. My heart raced. Could it have been him? I opened it and indeed, there he was. Logan. Yet, on this occasion, he had chosen not to wear a tank top. He donned a fitted black t-shirt that accentuated his physique with jeans that draped perfectly. In his grasp, he clutched a small brown bag. He lifted the bag and said he brought the washer. I was planning to complete the repairs on your shower. I stifled a chuckle, masking the rapid thump of my heart beneath the surface. Your kindness is truly appreciated. He entered once more as if he had always been a part of this place. He moved with a sense of ease, exuding confidence and a subtle power. We made our way to the bathroom once more. The fabric of my robe glided softly over my thighs. His eyes caught sight but swiftly moved on. He sank to his knees beside the tub, unzipped the bag, and began his task. I perched on the rim of the tub, observing him intently. I made an effort to avert my gaze. However, I did not succeed. You keep staring at me, he remarked, still facing away. A smile graced my lips. You possess a captivating charm. He raised his eyes gradually, locking onto my stare. You are as well. The silence returned, enveloping you in a way that words never could. Looking for a towel? I inquired abruptly, rising to my feet with haste. Indeed, he remarked, my hands are damp. I pivoted and made my way to the linen cabinet. My robe gently slipped from my shoulder. I left it as it is. As I pivoted, I found him there, nearer than he had been moments ago. Water cascaded from his hands. In a hushed tone, I offered him the towel. He accepted it, but rather than drying his hands immediately, he lifted his fingers and softly brushed a drop of water from my collarbone. His touch was gentle, not firm enough. I took a deep breath. Claire, he uttered, as if seeking confirmation. As I gazed into his eyes, guilt was absent. Only warmth, desire, marvel. I allowed him to continue. His hand glided to my waist. And then, in an instant, his lips found theirs on mine. It was not swift, it was not untamed. The pace was languid, delightful, testing. I surrendered to him, my fingers gliding over his chest, sensing his heartbeat quicken in sync with my own. He withdrew ever so slightly. He mentioned that he had been wanting to do that since yesterday. I took a deep breath. I've desired that long before you arrived. That confession shattered the barrier that existed between us. He kissed me once more, this time with greater intensity. My robe slipped ajar and I made no effort to close it. His hands roamed over me as if I were a novel he had longed to delve into, tracing every curve, every inch, every soft sigh I attempted to stifle. Once more, I found myself embodying the essence of womanhood. More than a widow, more than merely a mother. I was wanted, yearned, vibrant. In the quiet of the bathroom, we sprawled on the plush rug, our bodies entwined, hearts racing in unison. We remained silent for a moment, each lost in our own thoughts. At last, Logan murmured, "Was that all right?" I shifted my gaze and regarded him. Superior to satisfactory. He added that he didn't want to push you. I said you didn't. I desired this just as deeply as you did. He beamed, a genuine, radiant smile that enhanced his youthfulness, while simultaneously exuding a newfound strength. I suggested that it might be best to keep this to ourselves. He gave a slight nod. They simply wouldn't grasp it. I gazed up at the ceiling. I can't quite grasp it, yet I have no regrets. And I did not. In that cozy, intimate bathroom, I rediscovered something I believed was gone: desire, touch, connection. A feeling that transcends solitude. And it arrived as a 19-year-old boy who rekindled my sense of femininity. The following morning, I found myself in Logan's black t-shirt. The scent was reminiscent of him, fresh, youthful, and brimming with playful energy. He departed after our encounter in the bathroom wearing a nervous smile and blushing cheeks, yet before he stepped through the door, he drew me in for one final kiss. Take it easy this time. Extended, as if he longed to recall the essence of my flavor. As I stepped barefoot into my kitchen, his shirt draping mid-thigh, the lingering warmth of his hands enveloped me. The tingling persisted, refusing to fade. I filled my mug with coffee, settled at the counter, and gazed out the window. The sun hung high in the sky. The melodious chirping of birds filled the air. Yet within me a tempest had begun to brew. What actions did we take? I was 56. At the age of 19, he stood on the brink of adulthood. The son of my closest friend. I ought to have put an end to it. I ought to have distanced myself from him. However, I did not. For the first time in years, I felt the warmth of a touch. Truly moved. Not merely skin to skin, but soul to soul. He truly acknowledged my presence. At midday, my phone vibrated. A text, "Hey Logan, would it be alright if I swung by later?" I gazed at the message for a brief moment. My thumbs lingered above the keyboard. I did indeed type that. The doors swing wide. My heart raced the instant I pressed send. At 2 p.m. he reappeared in my doorway, a bag of groceries in hand. He stepped inside and said, "I thought I'd whip up something special for you today." "Are you cooking now?" I inquired, arching an eyebrow. "Not great," he smiled, "but I make an effort." I departed and guided him toward the kitchen. He placed the bag on the ground and retrieved pasta, tomatoes, and a small block of cheese. In that fleeting moment, he appeared utterly innocent, so perfectly ordinary. This was hardly unusual. This was what we always did. He simmered the pasta as I diced the tomatoes. We toiled together, our shoulders brushing against each other from time to time. At times, our fingers brushed against each other as we both reached for the same spoon. Small glimmers, innocuous yet sizzling. "Claire," he inquired softly. "What's that? Did I overstep my bounds yesterday?" I took a moment to stop. My gaze fell upon him. I perceived something deeper than merely a teenage boy infatuated. A man stood before me, brimming with questions and an insatiable curiosity, and perhaps, just perhaps, something more profound. "No," I replied in a gentle tone. "You haven't crossed anything. We both embarked on a journey together." He gave a slight nod. Yet, the stillness that ensued revealed his lingering uncertainty. He acknowledged that it wasn't typical. "You have aged. You were simply yourself." "What am I?" "Stunning. Intelligent. Beyond my reach." I blinked. Then, a smile appeared. "You're so kind." He gazed at me as if there were unspoken words lingering in the air. Yet, he moved in closer. His fingers grazed my cheek softly. "May I kiss you again?" he inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I gave a slight nod. And in that moment, our lips connected once more, gentler this time, more relaxed. Exercise greater caution. His arms encircled my waist, and I felt myself surrender against him. My hand glided beneath his shirt, fingers tracing the contours of his abdomen. He inhaled quietly, and that sound awakened a profound feeling within me. We embraced passionately until the water reached its boiling point, hissing against the stove in a fervent symphony. Later, we settled onto the couch, plates of half-eaten pasta resting in our laps, sharing laughter over its terrible flavor. "I suppose we should have gone for pizza," I joked. He offered a smile. "Next time, I'll allow you to take charge in the kitchen." His hand lingered on my exposed thigh, fingers tracing gentle circles. I remained still. I remained unperturbed. I desired it. It was essential for me. "Are you afraid?" he inquired abruptly. I paused to reflect. Indeed. However, I feel no remorse. He leaned in and pressed his lips against my shoulder. "I feel the same way." Once more, that irresistible tug made its presence known. That pang caught between innocence and the awareness of impending trouble. Yet, in that instant, it was of no consequence. What truly mattered was how his touch awakened a sense of renewal within me. Vibrant, seeking. Adored? No, not at this moment. Yet perhaps in the future. That evening, he lingered a bit longer before departing. We reclined in bed, his chest pressed against my back, his breath warm on my neck. His hand sought mine beneath the sheets, grasping it firmly, radiating warmth and a sense of security. In that moment, it dawned on me. This was more than a fleeting instant. This was evolving into something greater, a perilous situation, something genuine. To all my amazing Ella Infidelity Stories subscribers, I appreciate your support in sticking with me until the very end. You are the very essence of this channel. If you're just joining us, go ahead and tap that subscribe button to become a member of a community that embraces emotion, passion, and the thrill of the unknown. Let us immerse ourselves in the concluding chapter. The morning sun filtered through my bedroom window, painting golden stripes across the sheets. Logan lay peacefully beside me, his hand tenderly placed on my waist, his breath a gentle whisper against the back of my neck. He appeared serene, so youthful, so exposed. I observed him intently for an extended period. This young lad, this individual, the son of my closest friend. What led us to this point? How did a single package evolve into a fervent passion? I eased myself out of bed, taking care to avoid disturbing him. As I stood before the mirror, wrapping my robe tightly, the gravity of our actions pressed down on my heart. What might individuals express? What might she express? His mother, my dearest companion for more than 2 decades. What would her gaze be like if she realized her son had pressed his lips to mine, caressed my body, and softly spoken my name while I lay quaking beneath him? Could she ever find it in her heart to forgive me? Logan stirred from his slumber shortly thereafter. He approached me quietly in the kitchen, encircling my waist with his arms and planted a soft kiss in the curve of my neck. "Morning," he said, his eyes still heavy with sleep, a smile playing on his lips. "Good morning," I murmured, yet my voice had a distinct quality. Strained. "Proceed with caution," he observed immediately. "What seems to be the problem?" he inquired. I rotated within his embrace, cradling his face gently in my palms. "Logan, we must have a conversation." His smile disappeared. He was aware. "This cannot continue," I murmured gently. "We crossed a boundary, and I have no regrets. However, it is quite intricate." "You're 19, I remarked. "And I am myself." "You're not merely anything," he asserted swiftly. "You occupy my thoughts entirely from the instant I stepped into your home." His words tugged at my heartstrings. Yet the clamor of my fear drowned everything else out. "What would happen if your mother discovers it?" I murmured. "What if this destroys it all?" He moved in nearer, his hands softly clasping my hips. "In that case, we shall proceed with caution." "Yet, for how much longer can we continue to conceal ourselves?" I inquired. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. In that moment of silence, we both understood that what we shared had transcended mere desire. It was perilous. It was ablaze with no liquid in sight. 2 days went by. I chose not to call him. He failed to send a message. I repeatedly reassured myself that it had come to an end. Yet, on the 3rd afternoon, my phone chimed. It was indeed her, mother of Logan. My heart soared into my throat. I responded, making an effort to maintain a sense of normalcy. "Hey there, darling," she said with a bright smile. "Logan mentioned that he stopped by to repair your shower. Thank you for allowing him to assist. He mentioned that being around you made him feel incredibly mature." I took a deep breath. "He was quite the assistance," I remarked with deliberation. "I truly believe that young man is maturing into quite the gentleman," she continued. "He mentioned that you made him pasta as well, claiming it was terrible yet endearing." I chuckled uneasily. He has a point. A moment of silence lingered, and then she uttered a phrase that sent chills down my spine. "You know," she said softly, "he talks about you quite a bit." "Indeed, quite a bit. More than what a neighbor ought to do." My breath hitched. "I'm not sure what's happening, Claire," she went on, "but you mean so much to me, like family. I have faith in you." A knot of guilt coiled tightly in my stomach. Faith. That was the word that shattered me. That evening, I sent a message to Logan. "It's time to put an end to this." His response came in nearly no time at all. "What is the reason behind this?" "Your mother is beginning to have her doubts. This situation cannot continue." A moment of silence lingered. Then he sent, "Yet my heart still whispers, I love you." My fingers stiffened against the screen. Affection? My eyes brimmed with tears. It had been years since anyone had uttered that word to me. Yet I was aware of the path I needed to take. "Then love me enough to release this," I responded, "prior to its annihilation of all that exists." His last words arrived. "You'll forever be the first woman who awakened my spirit." It's been ages since I last laid eyes on Logan. Not since that night. At times, I find myself lingering by the window, anticipating a knock that remains absent. But I recall how he caressed me, how he kissed me as if I were significant. In that fleeting moment, I transcended the label of a widow grappling with a malfunctioning shower. I became a woman awakening to the sensation of being desired once more. At times, love isn't wrapped in the promise of eternity. At times, it's merely a fleeting instant. A kiss taken in secret, a soft murmur in the shadows. And that must suffice.